The first major optional activity that I'm going to describe here in this guide is what I call the MCCSE. That's the Multi-Class Community Speech Event. There's a section in the Angel site under the Lessons tab. I think it's a folder that says the MCCSE, where you can find documentation that supports and explains this in some detail. But for now, I'm going to talk about what the MCCSE is, what it's for, and how it works. What it is a program to send some of our public speaking students from Clover Park Technical College out into the community to speak to civic groups. In the past 2 years or so since I started the MCCSE, these civic groups have included a collection of movers and shakers in our town of Lakewood, Washington, called Lakewood United. It's also included the Lakewood Rotary Club, and it's also included the Toastmasters clubs in District 32 in our area, and it's included the Lakewood Kiwanis Club. So again, the point of this is to give students in the public speaking program a chance to have authentic, real, not just simulated, but real public speaking experience to real public speaking audiences. What is it for? As I said, it gives students an authentic experience at something that they are trying to learn throughout the course, which is to speak to audiences that they do not select. I didn't mention it yet, but I will mention how it works in a moment. Another reason for the MCCSE is that it legitimizes what we're trying to do in the class, so that if there are students who are wondering by 2/3 of the way through, or some of them are wondering on the first day, why on earth would public speaking be important to me in my life or my career, they begin to see exactly how the value of public speaking can be manifested in real life. It also honors individuals. I'll get to this in a minute also. It's meant to give certain students a sense of value and growth that they might not get otherwise if they were taking a class and only giving speeches to each other. Furthermore, another aim of the MCCSE is to promote our college in the community. I think almost every college and university in the country has the question of relationship between town and gown. Even virtual institutions, of course, have reputations to uphold and to build. This is as much the case in a technical college in Washington State as it is for Harvard University or a university in some other part of the world. In any case, part of this MCCSE is meant to achieve that goal, to make the profile and the reputation of the college stronger than they would have been without it. Now, how does it work? I've resisted the temptation until now to insert information about how the project actually works, so now I'll tell you. Toward the 3rd or 4th week of each quarter, when the students have begun to settle into their partnerships with their partners, they've begun to understand how the course is structured, they've begun to understand what their assignments are going to be for the school term, I'm able to begin to ascertain which students are the real stars, which ones seem to have grasped what I'm talking about and what they're practicing doing are better than anyone else. Also, I can tell which people are apt to be most reliable on the basis of their attendance and their following directions. So when that stage in the course comes, I begin to contact usually 1 or 2 people from each section. We have 4 sections here. I contact 1 or 2 people from each section and ask them if they would be prepared or interested in speaking to a community group in the last 7 to 10 days of the quarter, which by that time is still a month away. I've never had any trouble finding people to do this because number one, they don't have to give their portfolio presentation if they do this, but I really shouldn't say that's number one. I think number one, it's because these are the people who are self-motivated, they have an internal locus of control, they have begun to see the benefits, if they didn't prior to this course, of public speaking. So I've always had a positive response from them when I pick them. They also feel, I think, that they're being honored, which I want them to feel and which I really am trying to do. So once I've selected these people, I put them in touch with the organizations themselves, or in most cases I should say I contact the organizations well in advance, and by the time I've selected the people, I will usually write to one of the representatives of the Kiwanis Club or the Rotary Club or Lakewood United and let them know which students are apt to come. Now, in reality, some of these organizations are a little bit more prescriptive than others in terms of what they want me and the students to do. Lakewood United gave me a very clear and precise list of the kinds of topics they wanted students to talk about, whereas the Rotary Club and the Kiwanis Club have basically said, do whatever you want, we know it'll be an outstanding experience because your students always do a good job, which has happened thus far. Anyway, the upfront work that I have to do as the instructor is really critical. If I don't have the organization in line before the quarter begins, I think it would be a little bit of an imposition upon these professional organizations to ask them, I could probably do it, but I really personally prefer to have actually the whole year's schedule planned out before the year begins, so that I can tell the students each quarter, on the first day of class, there will be an opportunity for some of you to speak to the Rotary Club this quarter, or to the Kiwanis Club, or to the Toastmasters. So the mechanics of this are that I go through the process of filling out a field trip form and a travel request, a travel authorization form, I guess it is, from our college, and thereby preparing the mechanics of the actual travel to the locations in advance. Then when it's time for the actual public speeches to take place, the students and I can drive to the Rotary Club together in my car, or they can drive in their cars. They know what to expect. We always film these encounters. You can find videos of several of these on the website, on the Angel site, which will give you, I think, a pretty good idea of what an MCCSE looks like. Now, I mentioned this is MC, multi-class community speech event. Without any exceptions I can recall, I've always chosen one student from each of the 4 sections for this activity, because not only do I want each section to feel that it's important, but I want the students from the different sections to meet each other. In fact, I can recall a situation in which I drove 4 students to one of these events, and I hardly had to say a word. I don't know if I did say a word the whole way driving to the event, because these were such voluble, intelligent, creative, excited individuals that they had a lot to share with each other and did so. The results of the MCCSE thus far have been, I think, very favorable. The Toastmasters interaction has been the biggest thus far. The students who did this were not just select students, actually. They were students from 2 of my classes. All of the students in those 2 classes, I told that they needed to make contact with the Toastmasters Club and arrange a speech to the Toastmasters Club. This I also arranged well in advance by talking to 2 of the fine leaders of District 32 of the Toastmasters International Organization. That was the most ambitious MCCSE I've ever done. I'd be very interested in what you in your colleges or universities do with respect to giving students an opportunity to have authentic public speaking experiences outside of the college environment. I know of a couple of places. Ellen Bremen at Highline Community College here in the Seattle-Tacoma area sends her students to a high school to speak to high school students. There really is no limit to the kinds of organizations where students could speak, because in the real world, as we all know, that's the way it works. There are all these organizations that have speakers coming to them, and that's a way in which our students can capitalize on what's going on in society for their own benefit and the benefit of those organizations.